Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to dig into a scientific paper that's barely even a full page long. But on that one page, it unleashed an idea so powerful it would completely change how we think about economics, politics, even biology.
So, this is it. The paper is called Equilibrium Points in N-Person Games, published way back in 1949. And yeah, as you can see, it's incredibly short. But the idea squeezed into this one page, absolutely revolutionary.
And what's really wild is who wrote it. This wasn't some seasoned professor with decades of research under his belt. Nope, this came from John F. Nash Jr., a 21-year-old grad student in the math department at Princeton. So what was this idea? What did this kid stumble upon that was so earth-shattering it would eventually help him win a Nobel Prize? All right, let's break it down.
Okay, so first things first. To really get what Nash did, we have to understand the basic pieces he was working with. He starts by building this really simple but powerful framework for how to think about basically any strategic situation.
He kicks things off with the N-person game. Now that N isn't scary, it just means any number. So this could be 2 people playing chess, 3 companies fighting over prices, or, a dozen countries negotiating a treaty. The main point is, every player has a clear, limited set of moves they can make. And within that game, every one of those possible moves is called a pure strategy. Just think of it as a specific plan of action. Like in rock, paper, scissors, your pure strategies are to play rock, to play paper, or to play scissors. It's that simple. And that brings us to the next bit of jargon. N-tuple. I know, it sounds super technical, right? But it's just a snapshot of a single outcome in the game. If we're playing rock, paper, scissors, and I pick rock, and you pick paper, that combination, rock and paper, that's one N-tuple. That's all it is. Okay, so we've got our players, we've got our strategies. Those are the basic Lego bricks. Now let's see the incredible thing Nash built with them. This is where we get to the core idea.
So Nash brings in this idea of a countering strategy. And really, it's just a fancy way of saying your best move, right? If you do something, my best counter is the move that gives me the best result. In any game, everybody's trying to figure out their best response to what everyone else is up to.
And right here, this is the flash of genius. Nash asks this incredible question. What happens when you find a combination of moves where everybody's choice is already the best possible response to what everyone else is doing? What happens when the best counter move is the move you're already making? And in his paper, he just puts it so elegantly. A self-countering N-tuple is called an equilibrium point. And boom! Right there, in that one sentence, the Nash equilibrium is born.
So what does that mean in plain English? Well, an equilibrium is basically a stable point, a stalemate. It's a point in the game where nobody can do better by switching their move, as long as everyone else stays put. Think about 2 gas stations on opposite corners. If they both set their prices really low, neither one can just decide to raise their price alone, right? They'd lose all their customers to the other guy. That's it. That low price standoff is a Nash equilibrium. Everyone's doing the best they can, given what their rival is doing.
Now, just defining this point of balance was brilliant, but what took this paper from brilliant to legendary is that Nash didn't just describe it. He proved, with math, that it was a certainty in every single finite game. And this is the real knockout punch. It's not a maybe, it's not a sometimes. Nash proved, mathematically, that for any game with a set number of players and choices, at least one of these equilibrium points is guaranteed to exist. It's like a fundamental law of physics for strategic interactions. So how do you prove it? Well, the logic is actually really beautiful, and this slide kind of lays it out. He basically created a system where every combination of moves points to its best countermoves. Then, using a powerful math tool that already existed, he proved that somewhere in that system there has to be at least one point that, well, points back to itself. It's called a fixed point. And that fixed point where the best response is the current response, that is the Nash equilibrium. It's just an incredibly slick piece of logical deduction. And so, after laying out all that beautiful logic, the paper just drops the hammer with this powerful, undeniable conclusion. With the calm certainty of a mathematical proof, Nash just says, hence, there is an equilibrium point. Mic drop. Game over.
All right, so that's the math, that's the proof, but what does it all mean, for us in the real world?
Well, the biggest takeaway from this little page of math is just profound. It suggests that underneath all the seeming chaos of competition and strategy, there's a kind of hidden architecture. that any system where you have strategic players, whether it's companies in a market, countries in an arms race, or even animals in an ecosystem, has these predictable points of stability built right in.
And that ultimately leaves us with a really fascinating question to think about. If every strategic interaction, from a playground game to global politics, has an inevitable point of balance, what does that say about our world? It suggests that stability doesn't always come from people trying to cooperate. Sometimes it's just the unavoidable result of everyone rationally acting in their own self-interest. A truly wild idea to chew on.